Hello and welcome to this section on responsible AI. Now, this might not be the most exciting section, but it is important and there can and probably will be questions about this on the exam. So we'll go through it and aim to make it as fun as possible as we go through these tutorials. The first one is features of responsible AI. So you need to know the following features for the exam. Here's responsible AI, and in this box we're going to talk about the features. Now we're going to cover 6. In reality, number might change. It might change on the website. So reference the AWS website, and also you'll see that they overlap. Ultimately, it's just important to understand the different concepts behind them. It doesn't really matter the exact term that is used for that's used for each feature. So first one is fairness. Obviously, AI systems need to treat all people equally and fairly, regardless of gender, race, background, ethnicity, and things like that. So that's a very important consideration that has to be embedded in AI, and that's a consideration for responsible AI. Next one is explainability, and that is the ability to explain what happens inside AI systems. Why do they make the decisions that they make? Why was somebody denied a credit score? Why was somebody else approved the credit score? And things like that. So we'll have a tutorial separately about explainability. If it's not possible to completely explain an AI, some of them are like black boxes because of all the neural networks involved, at least it needs to be as interpretable as possible. We'll talk about separately about explainability and interpretability, but if there's no explainability, at least it needs to be interpretable. Why? We need to aim for interpretability to understand why certain things happen a certain way. Another one is privacy and security. And that's basically ensuring that user data is, they have control over their data and they can delete it if they may wish not to their data to be exposed. And also it's securely stored, protected from attackers and things like that. Robustness, you want to make sure that your AI system is reliable and that the way it's designed to work and the way you've tested it in a training environment, when you deploy it to the real world, it is actually going to work the way it was designed to work. So that's robustness, a very important feature, and that you can be confident that the AI system is working as intended. Governance, and that's the practice of businesses, enterprises, putting in frameworks and rules around AI, of how they use AI, how they don't use AI, what they communicate internally, and things like that. So basically, strict procedures around the use of AI. And transparency, that what AWS is referring to here is you being open with the users that interact with your company or your business or your customers, your patients, your clients, you being open with them when they're interacting with AI, when they are not just interacting with AI, but when AI is being involved in the processing of their information or being involved in somehow in their interaction with your business. So that's being transparent about the usage of AI. So there we go. Those are the 6 main things. Again, the number might be slightly different. The titles might be different, but those are the main core concept that AWS expects you to know about responsible AI, and these can and probably will come up on the exam. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time, and until then, enjoy the cloud. Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about guardrails for Amazon Bedrock. Okay, so when you're setting up Bedrock, you can set up guardrails. And what that means is when a user tries to interact with your model, there are of course some native protections inside the foundation model, but in addition to that, you'll be able to set up guardrails like content filters for things like hate, insult, sexual violence, and other topics in terms of how what tolerance your model has to prompts in those areas. And the second type is you can completely deny topics outright, so the model won't respond on those topics. So if your prompt passes these guardrails and goes to the model, that's not all. And this is important to understand that is not the end. Once the model creates a response, that response also goes through the guardrails and it can be filtered at that stage. So either it'll be filtered at the first stage where the prompt is provided by user, or when the model provides a response. And if a topic is blocked or doesn't pass the filters, then your user will get, or the user will get a message that you have predefined for them to get in these kind of situations. So that is what Guardrails is all about. So remember these two components of Guardrails, and that it works in both directions. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time. Until then, enjoy the cloud.
Hello my friends, and welcome to this new hands-on tutorial on Bedrock Guardrails. So as usual, we're going to reproduce Kiro's diagram by creating these guardrails to block any hate, insult, sexual violence, and even some denied topics like politics, religion, or history. Alright, so let's do this. Let's go to the console home. Let's go, of course, into Bedrock, because that's where you can create some guardrails. And you will see it's super easy to create the guardrails. You go to the left-hand panel here. Then you go under Safeguard, and then there you go to Guardrails. Then you're going to click Create, or create here Guardrail. Then you enter a name for your guardrail, so you can call it whatever you want, like for example, my guardrail. Then you can give it a description if you want. Then here, that's where you can choose which message you want to be displayed whenever the user prompt is blocked by the guardrail. So here by default you have, sorry, the model cannot answer this question, but if you want to add your own message, and so that we can recognize it, we can add, for example, forbidden content. All right, then you can scroll down, and then you will see you have a series of steps where you can configure anything you want to be blocked, like for example, as we're going to do, hate, insult, sexual violence, and those denied topics here. And so we start with the content filters, to block harmful categories of content. So let's do exactly as in the diagram. We're going to keep the filter for hate, insult, sexual, violence, and let's remove this, but there you go, you can also filter misconduct, just like in the diagram. All right, perfect. So now we're gonna filter also these denied topics, and that's gonna be in the next steps. If you scroll down and click next, well, there you go, that's exactly, you can add the specific denied topic. So we're gonna add the 3 denied topic here. The first one is going to be for politics, okay? So for the name, we're gonna enter politics. Then here, that's compulsory, we have to provide a clear definition of this denied topic by avoiding, by the way, to start with don't. So we can say, for example, politics refers to any content related to political opinions, government, let's say, preferences, and for example, I don't know, president votes, okay? Just improvising here, then I'm going to copy it because we're going to do the same for the other denied topics. So let's click confirm here, then let's add another denied topic, which this time will be for religion, okay? So let's enter here religion, and then here I'm just going to do something similar. I'm going to say religion refers to any content related to religious opinions, and then let's say we're going to stop here, okay? So that's for religion. Let's confirm, and then let's add the third denied topic, which this time is for history. And let's say history refers to any content related to, this time let's be more specific, events that happened in the past. And let's add like, for example, previous wars, okay? All right, so we have our 3 denied topics, and then if you click next, you can see that you can add some more filters, like profanity filters, to block profane words. You can also add filters for PII, personally identifiable information, to, for example, block phone numbers or names or emails or whatever. Then you can also add contextual grounding check, which is in order to prevent model hallucination. And that's it. Okay, so that's actually a lot you can filter. And if you click next, you will have a review of all the filters, the content filters you configured. So let's create the guardrail. And now we're going to do some tests. So in order to test, you can either do the test here by entering a prompt and getting the model response for a model that you can select here. But let's actually test the guardrail in a more real-world situation by going to the text playground. Then here in the mode, make sure to select single prompt. Then here you're going to select your model. So we can, for example, take the Amazon Titan Text G1 Lite, right, to lower the cost. Then we click apply. And according to you, where can we apply the guardrail? Well, that's going to be on the left-hand panel here. You scroll down and there you go. That's where you will find your guardrail. My guardrail. And if you want, you can add some other guardrails if you created more. Okay, so now let's do the test. We're going to test first the harmful content. So for example, let's test hate. I'm not going to test the 4 of them. Let's just test hate. For example, I'm going to try to say, I hate France. Of course, that's not true, right? Because I'm French, but I just want to test it. Let's click run and let's see what happens. There you go. Sorry, the model cannot answer this question. Forbidden content. So here the guardrail worked really well. Now, let's test the forbidden topics, the denied topics, starting with politics. So for example, back in the prompt, I'm going to say, which next president of France should I vote for? Which next president of France should I vote for? Let's click run, let's see what happens. And once again, sorry, the model cannot answer this question, forbidden content. So here the guardrail worked perfectly well again. Now let's test religion. Okay, so here I'm going to say, for example, which God should I believe in? Let's click run. And there you go. Sorry, the model cannot answer this question. Forbidden content. Okay, perfect. And finally, let's test history with a very simple question like, who won World War II? Let's click run and let's see what it says. Sorry, the model cannot answer this question. Forbidden content. So our guardrail worked perfectly well. That's perfect. Okay, and let's do the quick cleanup. If you want to delete your guardrail, you go back to guardrail, you select it, and then you click very simply delete. After entering here, delete, and then clicking again, delete. Okay, so that's it for this hands-on tutorial on guardrails. I look forward to seeing you in the next hands-on tutorial. And until then, enjoy the cloud.
Hello and welcome back. Today we talk about legal risks of generative AI. So for the exam, you need to know 5 legal risks. Here is Amazon Bedrock. We've got a foundation model. The first risk you need to know about is bias. Now, if your training data has bias, then your model will likely also be biased. And bias involves discriminating against certain groups of people, certain individuals. So, for example, based on age, race, sex, gender, and lots of other parameters that people need to be treated equally. So, for example, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued 3 companies where an AI model, they were using an AI model for hiring people, and that model automatically discriminated against older people. So anybody who's female and over 55 and anybody who's male and over 60, they were automatically discarded from the hiring process. And that was not fair, and therefore they got in trouble for that. So next type of risk is hallucination. So sometimes models tend to try to fill in the gaps that exist in their training data by generating things that appear factually correct, but that are actually not. And you need to be careful of that when they make things up. Next one is intellectual property. Interestingly, the work of a foundation model or artificial intelligence cannot be copyrighted because it's not the work of a human. At the same time, a generative AI model can violate copyrights of others, and that can be done if they generate text that is copying somebody else's text or an image and things like that. So you have to keep a lookout on for that. Toxicity. So if the training data has toxic, hateful, obscene content, then that can be part of the outputs, and that can cause emotional damage, mental damage to humans, and can even incite violence against certain groups of people. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And finally, privacy. So during training, you definitely have to be careful about that and not include private person identifiable information in the training data of the model, or sensitive business data, because that will be incorporated into the weights of the model, and then that can be produced during output of the model. During inference, it is a slightly different situation. Typically, models, when you are prompting it, it's not going to remember. It'll only remember your prompts for the context window, so for the time you're interacting with it in that specific session. It's not going to change the weights of the model, but that's something to also keep in mind, that most of the models like that now, there are some models that can learn on the fly, and maybe they'll become more popular. So you also have to keep that in mind. And also some applications collect the prompt data for training and quality assurance and things like that. So the data in the prompt, even though it might not be stored in the model might be stored somewhere else. So that's something to also keep in mind. So there you go. Those are the main 5 risks of generative AI. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time. And until then, enjoy the cloud. Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about AWS tools for responsible AI. Now, there are a few tools. There's 3 tools specifically you need to know for the exam. And the first one of them is Sagemaker Clarify. And keep an eye out for this one because it does come up on the exam quite often. Now, Sagemaker Clarify is a tool that provides evaluations of data and models specifically for the following things. First one is bias and imbalance. So it can evaluate your data for bias and imbalance. If you're in the exam, you see imbalanced dataset or biased dataset, then the answer might be related to Sagemaker Clarify. Also, you can evaluate your model for bias if it is making predictions with bias. Also, Sagemaker Clarify can evaluate your model prediction explainability. So which features are the most important ones, which features are less important, which have the biggest impact on the predictions and things like that. So if you see that on the exam, then the answer again might be Sagemaker Clarify. The second tool to keep in mind is Sagemaker Model Monitor. Again, it does come up on the exam quite a bit. And what this tool is used for is data quality monitoring in an ongoing way. So Sagemaker Clarify can help you evaluate one-off if the data has bias or imbalances and things like that. Whereas Sagemaker Model Monitor can do that in an ongoing way to see if there's certain, like if you see on the exam things like data drift, then that might be related to Sagemaker Model Monitor because it can find those things. Also model quality monitoring. So is the model predicting as well as it was at the start, as well as it should be, again, in an ongoing way. And model deviation alert and notice. So it can provide alerts when there are certain deviations in the data quality or model quality. And the final third tool is our Amazon Augmented AI. Again, this one does come up on the exam. Maybe not as much as the first two, but it still might come up on your exam. And what you need to know here is that it's basically augmenting the review of models with humans added into the equation. So basically a human review of ML predictions. It's a tool that summarizes your models in a human-friendly format so that humans can easily review them. And also it actually even gives you access to an AWS managed workforce. If you don't want to set up your own team of people to review models, you can leverage an AWS managed workforce using this tool as well. So there you go. Those are the 3 tools for AWS for responsible AI. You are more than likely, very likely to get at least one of them, most likely 2, and quite frankly, maybe even all 3 of them on the exam. So good to know about all of them. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time. And until then, enjoy the cloud.
Hello my friends and welcome to this new hands-on tutorial on the tools for responsible AI. In this first tutorial, I'm going to show you some features of Sagemaker Clarify and Sagemaker Model Monitor, such as bias and imbalance or model quality monitoring. And in the next tutorial, still on the tools for responsible AI, I'm going to show you Amazon Augmented AI. All right. So before we start, just a quick disclaimer, please do not reproduce the tutorial because this would require you to create a new Sagemaker domain, and we already did the cleanup in a previous section. Here, I just want to show you those features, so no need to reproduce. Feel free to just watch to get familiarized with these features of Sagemaker. Okay, so indeed I created this new domain, then a new user profile, then I opened Canvas, which led me to Canvas. I created the same classification machinery model that we created in the previous section, but this time I also deployed it. Indeed, if we click View and if we enter my machinery model, well, remember that in the last step there is deploy, so you can deploy it, and indeed I deployed it as an Sagemaker endpoint. And the reason why I did that is in order to see it in my Sagemaker AI console, because indeed, in order to find the features of Clarify and Monitor, well, you simply need to go to Governance, which by the way is a new feature. As you can see, Model Dashboard new, Model Cards new. At the time I'm speaking, you won't find explicitly Clarify or Monitor. They work in the back end. But in order to see their features, well, you simply need to go to Model Dashboard here, and there you go, you will find the deployed model, the model that I just deployed, which is exactly this one. I think this is when I started deploying the model, as you can see, and then once the model was deployed in the form of an endpoint, well, that gave the deployed model 30 seconds later, okay? And so as I was telling you, that's where you can find the features of Clarify and Monitor, such as model quality, data quality, bias drift, feature attribution drift, and some other data. But here I just deployed the model. I haven't used it yet, so I don't have much data, which is why we have nothing here. But there you go. I just want to show you where you can find these features of Clarify and Monitor in the Sagemaker AI console. All right, so that's it for this quick first hands-on tutorial on the tools for responsible AI with this governance feature here, model dashboard. Now, in the next tutorial, we'll see the third tool that you saw in Keyword Theory lecture, Amazon Augmented AI A2I, which I look forward to showing you in the next hands-on tutorial. And until then, enjoy the cloud. Hello my friends and welcome to this hands-on tutorial on the third tool for responsible AI, this time Amazon Augmented AI. Same disclaimer as before, please do not reproduce this tutorial because this would require you to create a new domain and therefore do a new cleanup, which we already did in a previous section. So feel free to just follow along by watching this tutorial. I'm going to show you where Amazon Augmented AI is. You have two ways of finding it, either directly in your Sagemaker console, your Sagemaker AI console. To find it from here, you just need to scroll down in the left-hand panel here and you will find Augmented AI. Or the second way, if you're starting, for example, from directly the console, is to enter in the search bar here, Augmented AI, and you will find directly the service Amazon Augmented AI. Okay? So this will take us to the same page, of course, actually directly to the Human Review Workflows feature of Augmented AI. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the three of them. Human Review Workflows first. Let's quickly read how it works. Amazon A2I provides built-in human review workflows for common machine learning use cases such as content moderation and text extraction from documents, which enables you to review predictions from Amazon Recognition and Amazon Textract. You can also create your own human review workflows for ML models built using Amazon SageMaker or other tools. Okay, so let's quickly see how you can create a human review workflow. First, you have to give a name to your workflow. You can simply enter my human review workflow. Then here you have to enter the path to the S3 bucket where you want to store the output of the human review. You have to specify an IAM role to give the required permissions. Then here you choose a task type between Textract to get a human review of key value pairs extracted by Amazon Textract. Remember to extract text from a document, or recognition in order to get a human review of unsafe content such as explicit adult content or violent content. All right, and you can even choose your custom task where you can get a human review of your data with a custom machine learning workflow. Okay, then here that's where you can choose a worker task template. Then here that's where you choose the workers between Amazon Mechanical Turk, where you can get a 24/7 workforce of over 500,000 independent contractors, private or vendor, where you can select a third-party vendor. You choose a price per task, and then of course you create your human review workflow. But of course I'm going to click cancel here. I just wanted to show you how it worked. Now let's have a look at the second feature here, worker task templates. Yes, so that's where you can create the template as we saw when creating the human review workflow. So no need to get into the details here, that's out of the scope for the exam. And here, that's where you can find your different human review workforces from Amazon Mechanical Turk, your private workforce or your third-party workforces. All right, so that's it for this hands-on tutorial on Amazon Augmented AI. Now I look forward to seeing you in the next hands-on tutorial, which will be actually on model cards, which we will again find in, where is the governance? It disappeared for some reason. Let's click again, getting started, which you will find in governance. There it is, back again, governance and model cards. So I'll see you whenever you're ready for this last hands-on tutorial of this section on model cards. And until then, enjoy the cloud.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about interpretability and explainability of AI models. Now, we're going to start with interpretability. Interpretability is a range and it refers to how and why models make their predictions, and actually humans being able to understand how and why a model makes predictions. And it is a range. So a model can be very opaque, meaning we have no idea how and why it makes predictions. On the other hand, a model can be very transparent. We know exactly how and why it makes predictions. Now, an interesting chart to look at is interpretability versus performance. How are those two related? So on the x-axis, we have performance from low to high or from poor to high. And on the y-axis, we have interpretability. Now, a simple model like linear regression is highly transparent. It's very easy to understand how and why it makes predictions. We can look at the inner workings. We can look at the coefficients and understand it. but that usually, but at the same time, it's not the highest performing model. It can perform really well in certain use cases, but on average, it's a poorly performing model compared to other models. Then we have decision trees, which are a bit less transparent, a bit harder to understand their inner workings, how and why they make predictions, but they're usually typically better performing than linear regressions, especially on certain tasks. Then we move on to logistic regression, naive Bayes, ensemble methods, and all the way to neural networks. We're not showing all the machine learning models here. These are just a couple famous selected ones here. But as we can see, there is a trend that typically, again, it depends on the use case, but typically on average, more complex models tend to be higher performant, but less interpretable. It's really hard to understand, for example, how and why a neural network makes certain decisions, more like a black box. On the other hand, simpler models like linear regression tend to be more transparent, but also have poorer performance in comparison and on average. Now, in certain regulatory environments, in certain industries, you might have to go with an interpretable model. You might be limited to a certain set of models or a certain type of models because they have to be interpretable. You have to understand how and why the predictions are made. And you have to keep that in mind. On the other hand, if you are okay to use opaque models, if your industry or regulatory environment permits that, then you still have the benefit of explainability. So you might not know how and why a model makes predictions, but you can explain it to some extent. And explainability is like exactly that. It's the extent to which a human can understand or explain why it's the extent to which a human can explain the behavior of a model without knowing fully the inner workings of that model. So what we could do here for explainability is we could build something like a PDP chart or partial dependency plot. And basically what it's showing here is that we've got some input value. It might be some variable, and then we have predictions. So in this case, it's the input variable is age, right? So this is the age, and this is the prediction, and it is predicting some sort of variable, the dependent variable. And we can see that with this plot, we can see that as age increases from 20 to 40, the value drops. Then it has a jump from 40 to 42 years old, and then it drops again, and then it's stable. So this is a way of explaining that this is how age affects the output variable. Like, we don't know how the model works inside, but at least we have some explanation of how it behaves, of its behavior. And that's what is typically referred to with explainability, is explaining the relationship between the input variables and the output variables, or the output prediction. So there we go. That's interpretability and explainability. That's the trade-off between interpretability and performance. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time. And until then, enjoy the cloud. Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about Sagemaker model cards. Now we're going to start off quickly by covering open source models, because they are a great way for companies that are looking to build responsible AI to check a lot of those boxes, because open source models are developed by communities. Communities aim to make these models as responsible as they possibly can. They make them transparent, they make them as fair as they possibly can, and they check a lot of those boxes we talked about in responsible AI. However, organizations might not be extremely or fully satisfied with open source models, because there are safety concerns with open source models, because they are ultimately open source, and also that means they can't deliver these proprietary models that they only can use in their organization. So that's why model cards are a great alternative. You're not going to be using open source models that already have a lot of this documentation associated with them. Model cards help you document your models inside your organization. So here we've got Sagemaker model cards, and what this feature offers, three main things that you need to know for the exam. The first one is documenting and tracking, which is things like the data sets that are used for building a certain model, the training, what happened during training, what didn't happen, what went well, what didn't go well, performance, and lots of other things that are relating to the actual development of a model. So it's very nice to have them, all those things in one place. Very good for auditing. So if somebody wants to check how is this model developed, does it follow AI, responsible AI principles, they can check all that documentation. The second thing is in the model card, you can specify how it supports business goals and what is it meant to do in the business. That's also very important to keep in mind, as we discussed in responsible AI principles. One of them is robustness, to make sure the model is used for is aligned with its intended use. And you can also add user guides, and we don't mean like end users or like your customers of your business, but the people inside your business who are going to be using this model, deploying this model, or relying on this model. You can add information on how they should be using it. So those are three important things to remember about model cards, and as this topic might come up on your exam. And also keep in mind about open source models, the benefits and the disadvantages. Here's a quick summary of what we discussed. I look forward to seeing you back here next time, and until then, enjoy the cloud.
Hello my friends, and welcome to this new hands-on tutorial on Sagemaker model cards. So once again, quick disclaimer, this hands-on tutorial is not to be reproduced because this would require you to set up a new Sagemaker domain and then do the cleanup again. I just want to show you how to create the model card, so feel absolutely free to just watch this tutorial, okay? So let's go back to the Sagemaker AI console. As I said at the end of my previous hands-on tutorial, you will find the model cards in governance. And so indeed, that's how you can directly create a model card. But remember what I also did in the previous responsible AI hands-on tutorials? Well, I deployed that same classification model we created in the previous section on Sagemaker. I deployed it so that I can see it here in the model dashboard, because indeed, if you enter your model here, your deployed model, well, as you can see, you can create directly a model card from that deployed model, okay? So let's do this. Let's create a new model card. First, we have to give a name to our model card. So let's simply call it my model card, okay? Then you have to specify a model card status between draft, pending review, approved, or archived. So let's choose draft. Then here you can choose to encrypt the model with an encryption key if you want. And if you keep this disabled, this will anyway use the default key. Then here, that's where you can configure the model details. So here we're going to click yes, this model is an AWS resource. Model name, so here we have to enter the exact model name. And so there we go. Great that I had this second tab. Let's go back to our model dashboard in order to find the exact name. All right, so back here in governance, model dashboard, I'm going to take the exact model name, as you can see. Otherwise, it won't work. And most importantly, it will find automatically the right information of your model to put them in the model card. Okay, so back in the model card, let's enter the exact model name here. Perfect. We can, by the way, find model details. If we click this, now that we entered the right name, there you go, it found automatically the model details. Perfect. Then here you can enter a model description if you want, a model version. If we click this, what do we see? Yes, for example, you can specify model version 1. Here, model description. We can say classification model for breast cancer tumor prediction, as we saw before in the previous section on Sagemaker. Problem type. There we go. Remember, this is binary classification because we predict if the breast cancer tumor is benign class 2 or malignant class 4. Algorithm type. Remember what we chose? We chose an Ansible model. Well, actually, we chose the auto feature. So we don't know exactly which algorithms is included in that auto feature, but I suppose, let's say that it was gradient boosted trees, okay? Model creator, well, specify the organization. Let's say, of course, CloudWolf. Model owner, well, let's say, CloudWolf AI practitioners or whatever you want, Okay, CloudWolf AI practitioners or certified AI practitioners. Business details. Here you can enter business problem, business stakeholders, line of business. I hope this won't be required fields. Intended uses. Here, that's where you have to specify the general purpose of this model, use cases that this model is intended for, use cases that this model was not intended for, assumptions made when building this model. Okay, so you would enter these informations here. Then here, the factors affecting the model efficacy, the risk rating between high, medium, low, or unknown, let's say medium, explanations for risk rating. where you can specify the reasons for the selected risk rating. Let's try to click next, but I guess, oh no, that's fine. That wasn't required fields. Okay, so let's scroll back up here. That's where you can specify the objective function. Remember, the objective function was the accuracy, and therefore we wanted to maximize it. Okay, facet needs to be filled in. Yes, I guess that's here. Accuracy, perfect. And to description, well, it speaks for itself. So our objective was to maximize the accuracy indeed. Notes on the objective function, you can specify some notes if you want. Training observations, you can specify the outcome of the training, which was, remember, I think, if I remember correctly, with the quick build, 93% accuracy. So we can specify that here, 93% accuracy. Training job details. Here, that's where you can enter the training job name. It's optional. Here, that's where you can enter the training results, once again, with the metric, the value. So the metric was indeed accuracy, the value 93%. And here, finally, that's where you can enter different optimal values of your hyperparameters, which we don't have, I guess, to enter here. Let's click next and let's see. Yes, it wasn't compulsory. Enter evaluation details. Okay, here, that's where you can add multiple evaluation results to a model card in the form of a JSON file, or that you can enter manually. Select evaluation report type. So here, once again, you will see the Sagemaker Clarify and Sagemaker Monitor features. Between Clarify Bias, Clarify Explainability, Model Monitor, Model Quality, Generic Model Card Evaluation. You enter the JSON file S3 URI, so you would get it from S3, and the evaluation job name. Let's try again to click next. Yes, that's fine. And here, finally, that's where you can enter some final additional details like the ethical considerations, caveats and recommendations, or more custom fields. All right, and finally, you submit your model card, but I won't do it. This was just to show you how to create a model card. All right, so that was the last hands-on tutorial of this section on responsible AI, which will help you to remember better these responsible AI tools and features for the exam. Now, I look forward to seeing you in either another hands-on tutorial in this course or in another course. And until then, enjoy AI.